Hi there, my name is Dan Rossiter, and today I'd like to spend just a couple of minutes to describe to you what Document Gallery is and why it's something that you absolutely have to have. Now, Document Gallery is a WordPress plugin that allows you to easily display any number of documents and, in fact, many other file types on your site easily and in a way that your users can interact with. So if we want to look at a few examples before we get started, here we see some screenshots of galleries that have been generated. Here we have multiple galleries within a single page. And we see that each of these icons has a small version of the first page of whatever document it is we're displaying. And we'll see how that's done in a moment. So without further ado, let's go to our test site and let us play with Document Gallery. So here we have an empty WordPress install. I've just downloaded onto my test server, and we're going to install Document Gallery. And this is a very tedious process, so bear with me. We go to the plugins page on our dashboard. We click the Add New button. We type in Document Gallery and click Install Now. Now, I hope you got all that. I know that it was quite challenging to follow along, pun intended. So now let's activate Document Gallery and start working with it. So the first thing we do once we activate Document Gallery is we probably want to go and look at the settings and see what's currently being done and maybe tweak some things to better match what we want to do. So here up at the top you will see a list of various settings. Now these are the default values that are used anytime that we use the Document Gallery shortcode, which I'll show you in a moment. So these are fine the way that they are now, but you can change them to meet your needs. For example, attachment page will determine whether or not clicking on a document icon takes you to the actual file. So if I click on an icon for PDF, will it take me to the .pdf file, or will it take me to a web page related to that file that WordPress automatically generates? So by default, we link to the file itself. But if you want to link to the page, which makes sense in some cases, then you can change this here. Or you can also, in the shortcode itself, change this value, which will be called what we see right here, attachment_PG. And we have a lot of other options like that. Fancy is the option that generates icons. It's generally what you want, but you can also use default icons that just show whatever the file type is without it being specific to that particular file. Below all of those options, we see thumbnail generation. And this all has to do with that fancy option that we just looked at. So various file types are handled differently. For audio video, we use some things that are built directly into the WordPress core to handle. And so all servers should support this unless your server doesn't fully support WordPress itself. There's really no reason to not have this enabled, but you can disable it if you want, in which case any files that might be generated with this will not attempt to use this generation method. We also have GhostScript, which is fantastic for PDFs and other PostScript files. If you're planning to process any PDFs, I highly recommend using it if it's enabled. On some servers this won't be enabled for one reason or another, and you can work with your hosting provider to try and get that resolved. But it will generally be an option on most hosts. You also have iMagick, which is slightly less commonly supported, but if it is supported, you'll have access to hundreds of file types and the thumbnails for those file types through this tool. And the plugin will automatically harness that for you. Finally, we have Google Drive Viewer. And this is the one generation method that requires sending your files off to a remote server. In this case, we're sending them to Google, and we're using the Google Drive Viewer to generate an image for us. In most cases, this is just fine, and you'll probably want to enable it by checking the box. But if you're dealing with sensitive documents that you don't want sent off-site, then it may make sense to leave it off. The default option is to have it off just for security reasons, but as I said, in most cases you probably want to enable it, especially if you're going to be using Microsoft Office files, all of which can't be supported in any of the above 3 ways and require Google Drive Viewer to display properly. Below that we have custom CSS. We're not going to really dig into this right now, but you can add any custom styling you want applied to your document gallery, and it will be displayed for you. And then down at the bottom, we're really not going to go into this at all, because if you don't know what it is, you really shouldn't mess with it. It has to do with how GoScript works, and that's about all I'm going to say with that. So we haven't made any changes here that we really want to save, so I'm not going to push the save button, but if you'd made changes, you'd want to click save here for them all to take effect. So now let's make a gallery. I'm going to go over to my pages, click on this default page that we already have. I'm going to remove all of this, and I'm going to put in our shortcode, which is this right here. I'm then going to add some media, and I've got a few files selected that should help us pretty easily see the power of Document Gallery if I can find those files. Here we go. Alright, so we've got 4 files here. We've got an audio file, Living on a Prayer, which is, by the way, one of the best songs of all time. We've got an image file. We've got a PDF file. And we've also got GoScript.html, which is an HTML file. So let's try putting all of those in. So once these have all uploaded, we're going to save the changes we made to our page and go and look at the page and see what we have. So actually don't even need to save. We can just preview the changes right now. And so it's taking a while to load because it's generating those thumbnails for each of the icons. Now after it's generated once, it won't generate again. So for example, if we reload this right now, it should load pretty much instantaneously. You see that? That's because it's already cached each of these images so that we don't have to generate them a second time. Now you'll notice we uploaded 4 files here, but only 3 are shown. And that's because of an option we saw earlier that I didn't go into a lot of detail before, but we'll address now. So if we go back to our dashboard, go to Settings and Document Gallery, we have an option for images. So if we check this, it means that it's going to by default include those images in the gallery. If we don't check it, it's going to ignore image files. That's because this plugin was designed initially to display documents. So images are not a default option, but they are an option. So I'm not going to check this here because I'm going to show you how to use attributes within the shortcode itself, which is the other way to set all of these values. So let's go back to the page and modify that shortcode that we were using. So since we didn't save, we have to re-enter this. But we've got images is equal to, and the default value is false, but obviously we do want them, so we're going to say true. So now we'll update this time so we don't have to re-enter that later. And now we should see 4 icons instead of the 3 that we saw before. And there we go, we have our 4th item right here. So in case you're wondering, this audio file, MP3s have the ability to embed images within them. Now some of them won't have images, in which case you'll see a default icon, but if they do have an image, then WordPress core has the ability to pull that image out, which is what we do. And here's our HTML file, and here's that PDF that we uploaded. And that's about all I'm going to show you today. I welcome you to bring any questions that you might have to the support forum. I actively try and support any questions that arrive there, and should get back to you within a few days maximum. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy Document Gallery, and have a good day.